You call it laziness, but laziness is not what stops you. Because lazy people do not suffer for staying still. You do. You think about changing your life every day. You imagine the version of yourself who wakes up clear, moves with purpose, finishes what was started, and no longer negotiates with the same old fear. You can see that version. You can almost feel it. Then something strange happens. Your energy disappears. Your focus collapses. Your body suddenly wants distraction. Your mind becomes foggy. And the thing that felt important yesterday begins to feel heavy today. So you wait. You tell yourself you need better timing, more motivation, more certainty, a cleaner plan, a stronger routine. But deep inside, you know the truth. This has happened before. Different goal, same collapse. Different dream, same resistance. Different opportunity, same invisible wall. And because you cannot see the wall, you begin blaming yourself. You call yourself inconsistent, undisciplined, weak, broken. But what if the part of you that stops is not your enemy? What if it is a protector? What if your mind is not trying to ruin your life? What if it is trying to protect a version of you that was built inside pain? Tonight, we are not going to shame the pattern. We are going to expose it. Not as motivation, not as a trick, as a mechanism. Because the moment you understand what your mind has been protecting, the pattern begins to lose its power. The most dangerous prison is not visible. It does not have bars. It does not announce itself. It does not say, "I am the reason you keep stopping." It appears as tiredness, delay, confusion, sudden doubt, a strange heaviness in the body right before action. And because the resistance feels internal, you assume it must be personal failure. That assumption becomes another layer of the prison. Carl Jung described the shadow as the part of the psyche we push away because it does not fit the image we want to have of ourselves. The shadow is not evil, it is hidden. It holds fear, shame, anger, grief, and every emotional truth the conscious self learned to reject. When that hidden material remains unconscious, it does not disappear. It acts. It shapes choices. It edits desires. It interrupts momentum. That is why a person can consciously want success and unconsciously fear visibility. They want to be seen, but being seen once felt unsafe. They want intimacy, but closeness once meant losing themselves. They want money, but receiving more once meant being judged, envied, or controlled. So the nervous system chooses familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. Not because pain is good, because pain is known, and the known feels survivable. This is the first stake. If you do not understand the protector inside the pattern, you will keep fighting the symptom. You will keep buying planners for a nervous system that needs safety. You will keep asking for discipline when the deeper issue is threat. And the cost is not just delay, the cost is identity. Every time you stop, you collect more evidence against yourself. Every unfinished thing becomes proof. Every abandoned dream becomes a sentence. And slowly, you stop believing you are someone who can change. That is the real danger, not failure, self-definition. Imagine a locked room inside the mind. Not a metaphorical room only, a psychological storage space. Every painful memory enters it. Every moment of rejection, every humiliation, every time you reached for something and were punished for wanting it, every time you became visible and someone used that visibility against you. The mind stores those experiences, not as complete stories, as survival instructions. Do not speak too loudly. Do not want too much. Do not trust the opening. Do not become different from the tribe. Do not shine where you were once punished for being seen. In 1949, psychologist Donald Hebb described a principle that is often summarized as neurons that fire together, wire together. Repeated experience creates repeated pathways. Repeated pathways become faster. Faster pathways feel automatic. Automatic pathways begin to feel like personality. This matters because your resistance is not random. It may be rehearsed. The body remembers emotional pairings. If effort was paired with criticism, effort can feel dangerous. If success was paired with isolation, success can feel like abandonment. If love was paired with instability, peace can feel suspicious. This is why logic alone does not free you. You already know what you should do. That is not the missing piece. The missing piece is emotional permission. A part of you must believe the next version of your life is survivable. Without that, ambition becomes a trigger, growth becomes a threat, and your highest vision becomes a door the nervous system refuses to open. This is why the pattern is so confusing. You are not resisting the dream itself. You are resisting what the dream symbolizes: attention, responsibility, exposure, separation from the old self, a future that requires you to no longer hide behind the identity that kept you safe. And that is where the real conflict begins. The ancient Stoics understood something modern people keep forgetting. Epictetus wrote that people are disturbed not by events, but by the meaning they give to events. This is not positive thinking. It is perception. Meaning shapes emotion. Emotion shapes reaction. Reaction shapes repetition. Your subconscious does not ask, "Is this opportunity good for me?" It asks something older. Have I survived this before? If the answer feels uncertain, resistance rises. This is why motivation works for a few days and then disappears. Motivation speaks to the conscious mind. Fear speaks to the body. And the body is older. The body moves first. It tightens. It delays, it numbs, it creates fog. Then the conscious mind invents a socially acceptable explanation. I am too tired. I need to research more. I will start Monday. The timing is not right. I should fix myself first. And some of those reasons may contain truth. That is what makes the pattern so seductive. It rarely lies completely. It uses a small truth to protect a deeper fear. You may be tired, but tiredness is not always the whole story. You may need preparation, but preparation can become camouflage for avoidance. You may need healing, but healing can become another waiting room if you never move. This is where self-sabotage becomes sophisticated. It does not always look like destruction. Sometimes it looks responsible. Sometimes it looks spiritual. Sometimes it looks like waiting for alignment. But alignment that never produces movement becomes another name for fear. There is a brutal tenderness in seeing this, because you realize the pattern was not stupidity, it was intelligence trapped in an old survival map. A map created when your world was smaller, when approval mattered more than truth, when safety meant shrinking, when being yourself carried a cost. But the map is outdated now, and an outdated map can turn even a bright future into unfamiliar territory. That is why you stop. Not because there is nothing ahead, because the part of you holding the map still believes ahead means danger.
Now the story turns, because what you protect long enough begins to feel like who you are. Pain becomes identity, not because you choose it, because repetition makes it familiar. If you were the invisible one, visibility feels unnatural. If you were the responsible one, receiving support feels suspicious. If you were the one who always had to prove value, rest feels like danger. If you were loved only when useful, success can become another performance. Carl Jung warned that until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This line matters here, because many people are not repeating fate, they are repeating protection. They keep recreating emotional climates they already know how to survive. Chaos, distance, overthinking, pressure, unavailability, almost success, almost love, almost peace. The almost is important because almost allows desire without full exposure. You can say you tried, you can keep the dream alive, but you never have to face what happens if the dream becomes real. This is where homeostasis enters. Homeostasis is the biological tendency to maintain internal balance. The body regulates temperature, blood pressure, energy, and many internal systems to stay within a survivable range. Psychologically, something similar can happen. Your inner world has a familiar emotional temperature. If peace rises too fast, the system may search for conflict. If success rises too fast, the system may search for a reason to retreat. If love becomes stable, the system may search for evidence that it will disappear. Not because stability is wrong, because stability is unfamiliar, and the unfamiliar must be taught slowly. This is the turning point. You do not defeat the protector by attacking it. You update it. You show it that the old danger is not the current reality. You teach the body that expansion can be survived. One action, one truth, one interruption of the old pattern at a time. Now, close your eyes for a moment, even if only inwardly. Imagine every version of yourself sitting in the same room. The child who learned to hide emotion. The teenager who stopped asking for help. The adult who became functional but not free. The version who performs confidence. The version who secretly doubts everything. The version that starts with fire and disappears into silence. Do not judge them. Look at them. Each one carried something for you. Each one protected a doorway.
Each one made choices based on what was available at the time. This is not an excuse. It is context. And context is not weakness. Context gives you the leverage point. In Jungian psychology, individuation is the process of becoming whole by integrating split-off parts of the self, not destroying them, not pretending they never existed, not replacing them with a polished identity, integrating them. That means the anxious part is not exiled, it is heard. The resistant part is not humiliated, it is understood. The hidden part is not dragged into the light violently, it is invited. This is where transformation becomes real. Because force can create temporary motion, but integration creates lasting change. When you force yourself without listening, the protector becomes louder. When you listen without moving, the protector remains in charge. But when you listen and move slowly, consciously, repeatedly, a new authority appears, the observer. The part of you that can witness fear without obeying it. The part that can feel resistance and still take one honest step. The part that can say, I understand why you are afraid, but we are not there anymore. That sentence is a ritual, not because it is magical, because it rewires relationship. You stop treating your own resistance like an enemy army. You begin treating it like an outdated guardian. And guardians can be relieved of duty, slowly, with proof, with presence, with action that does not abandon the nervous system, but also does not worship it. This is the peak of the pattern. Your mind was protecting the old you, but your awareness is here to protect the becoming you.
Most people wait for confidence before taking action. But confidence usually comes after action has repeated enough times to feel safe. This is why the first steps of transformation feel awkward. You are not only learning a behavior, you are building emotional territory. Ancient Buddhist traditions described attachment as the clinging of the mind to conditions it mistakes for self. The mind clings not only to pleasure, it can cling to pain, it can cling to longing, it can cling to lack, it can cling to the identity of the one who almost changes. This is uncomfortable to admit, but liberation often begins with admitting what the old self receives from staying alive. Maybe the old self receives sympathy. Maybe it receives a reason not to risk. Maybe it receives a familiar story. Maybe it receives protection from disappointment. Maybe it receives the comfort of never having to discover whether the dream can survive contact with reality. This does not make you manipulative. It makes you human. Human beings adapt around pain. Then they mistake the adaptation for personality. The quiet one, the chaotic one, the inconsistent one, the helper, the overthinker, the one who never finishes, the one who always leaves first. But these are often roles. Roles are learned, and what is learned can be interrupted. The interruption begins with noticing. You notice the body wanting to escape. You notice the familiar story beginning. You notice the sentence, "I cannot do this." You notice the sudden urge to distract. You notice the fantasy of starting over instead of continuing. Then you pause, not to quit, to see. This pause is not procrastination, it is consciousness entering the loop. And when consciousness enters the loop,
automation weakens. You do not need to become fearless. Fearlessness is often another fantasy. You need to become more loyal to truth than to the old protection. That loyalty will feel strange at first. It will feel like betrayal. The old identity may call it selfish. The old tribe may call it distance. The old fear may call it danger. But sometimes the first sign of growth is not excitement, it is grief. You grieve the version of you who survived by disappearing. You grieve the years spent believing the protector was your personality. You grieve the opportunities you could not hold because your system was not ready. And then, slowly, grief becomes tenderness. Tenderness becomes courage. Courage becomes repetition. Repetition becomes a new pathway, and the new pathway becomes a new identity. This is not instant. It is not aesthetic. It is not a quote. It is the private architecture of becoming free.
Now we anchor this, not with a list, not with 10 habits, one action. Tonight, before sleeping, write one sentence. The version of me I keep protecting is. Then stop. Do not make it beautiful. Do not perform insight. Do not turn it into a project. Write what appears. Maybe it is the child who was embarrassed. Maybe it is the teenager who was rejected. Maybe it is the adult who is terrified of being seen trying. Maybe it is the version who still believes success will cost love. Whatever comes, do not attack it. Name it. Because naming is the beginning of separation. The pattern is not you. It is something happening inside you. That distinction matters. I am broken keeps you fused. I am witnessing a pattern creates space, and space is where choice begins. You were never lazy. You were adapting. You were protecting. You were repeating an old map because nobody showed you where the map ended. Now you see the edge, and once you see it, you cannot fully unsee it. This is the quiet power of awareness. It does not always explode. Sometimes it simply removes permission from the lie. The lie that you are incapable, the lie that you are behind, the lie that your resistance is proof you cannot change. Resistance is not proof of failure. Sometimes resistance is proof that you are approaching a threshold, and thresholds require consciousness. If this made sense to you, join the 100 Days Protocol here on Astro Spiritual, because what comes next is deeper. The next layer is not why you stop. It is who taught you to stop. Who taught you that visibility was unsafe? Who taught you that wanting more was dangerous? Who taught you that shrinking was love? That is day 10, and that answer changes everything. Until next time, remember, you are the cosmos remembering itself.